House, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the gentlelady from Indiana, Ms. Spartz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like, Sheriff, I was looking a little bit at your bio. You're native of California and spent, almost 40 years as a sheriff. So you have a very long history and perspective, and, and how it changed California and what's really happened at the border. What do you believe from your perspective, if you look at it historically and where we are right now, what things have worked? Obviously, we have no border security. We have completely broken immigration system where if you're here illegally, you get a lot of benefits and your judgment proof and a lot of welfare as it is very becoming problematic to really support our own citizens. But if you want to try to do something legal, it's almost impossible becoming to immigrate to our country with a long line and really very unreasonable. And I would say very stupid immigration policy. But from the border security perspective, what have you seen work, what haven't worked? You work on the variety of administrations, Republicans, Democrats. What could you share with us that you think is important and where we are right now and what you think that an urgent needs that Congress needs to address?
Yes, and quite frankly, I don't feel that it's all that complicated. I feel that it's pretty reasonable. That we have a strong and secure border, that we're able to vet those who are coming and going, that we provide the opportunity for people to come into this country through the legal system in which we have had for years. There's laws in place that just need to be adhered to and obeyed. We find that the drug activity and transportation and trafficking of drugs, guns, human beings across the border is less. Will it completely eliminate it? No. That's just part of crime and criminal activity. But we will have a controllable handle on it if we enforce the laws that are currently in place, and that we get rid of the most egregious and felonious people causing harm to American citizens, holding them accountable. If you're bringing fentanyl into this country and people die, you need to be held accountable. If you're bringing human beings into this country and you are using them for a sex trade or gaining making money through criminal means by trafficking humans, you must be held accountable. I believe there should be federal laws that if you are trafficking young children for the purposes of sex trafficking or any other means, or any other human being for that matter, that there should be a federal law that you are held in federal prison for whatever determinate amount of time that is, so that a message is sent very clearly to those who are doing that. If you hold people accountable, if you enforce the laws that are in place, you will see a drastic reduction in the amount of people killed by fentanyl, the amount of cartels that are involved in coming across the border into our country, and you will actually have immigrants that are here, living peacefully, working in this country with the idea of chasing the American dream. I do not think it's complicated.
Thank you. I agree with you. And unfortunately, we haven't seen it, and especially in the recent years. But if you would look at some things, what Congress is doing or doing, because really the most important power we have is power of the purse, right? We set up policies, we give direction, executive branch should, follow these directions, and funding is the way for us to, to actually hold the other branch accountable. And we haven't been doing our job very well, not just very well, it's terrible. I always say the only good thing that makes me optimistic that Congress has about 12% approval rating, so American people can see it. There is some hope. But from some of the things, what do you think are the most important things if we look at the fund? And maybe someday Congress will have a funding discussion. We haven't had it for a while. We just do CRs and presentations. What do you think, the most important things? Because we've heard some very tragic stories, the real consequences, real life affected, because of negligence and disregard of duty by executive branch. And what do you think things that Congress should maybe take a looking at the funding and other things that we try to force the other branch actually enforcing the laws?
I believe that law enforcement across this country should be supported, and the idea of defunding the police is one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever heard in my 38 years of law enforcement. We must support law enforcement at every level. Now, what that means is on the border, we need to spend money to make sure that we have a strong and secure border. But if you're asking me my opinion, and I'm only law enforcement, but common sense is something that I pride myself in. And I would argue that if infrastructure was put in place, that you had enough people along the border in regards to the judicial process, providing as many judges as you can, as well as possibly an incarceration facility to hold people in custody if they're coming across the border outside the means of the legal system. But you have enough resources at the border that you can actually keep it from becoming this funnel that everyone is so worried about and not being able to get into this country. But I think if you use the purse strings to help support resources along the border with infrastructure as well as people, I think that we would eliminate some of the issues that we, quite frankly, are facing in this country right now.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Sheriff,